Welcome back to Tips and Tools to Boost Your Emotional Intelligence. We have spent the last two sessions learning valuable awareness tools and practical exercises for you to be able to retrain your brain. In the session ahead, we're going to be learning together how to learn the wisdom of your emotions. So you've been really walking your talk and learning tips and tools to build your emotional intelligence. You've taken this vow of exquisite self-care. So you've already learned how you can rewire your own mind and build in a new neural pathway to create an unconscious positive habit, and have been doing the steps over the past 2 weeks to make that happen. You've been training your brain in those really important times, the first 10 minutes in the morning, to sit with your intentions and to give your brain and body the benefits of gratitude, and 10 minutes at night to flood your body with gratitude, as well as review the evidence that you found throughout your day. You spent the last week with the power of language, of speaking this positive statement across all environments of your life. And I'm sure that you've run across some of your own personal resistance and uncovered these emotional defenses that you've created, that I'm sure they're coming up because that's part of the human experience that we all have anytime we go to create change. But you've stayed with it and you've been courageous, and we're here today to keep moving you forward. We also spoke last week about positive and negative triggers, and you were to get a sensory awareness tool that would help to keep your mind present and focused on your intentions and your evidence, and also help to wire in the positive feelings associated for when you are focusing on your positive thought and gratitude. We uncovered that we all wear a metaphorical suit of armor because after we get hurt, we're choosing to protect ourselves and try to not get hurt again. This week, we're going to go in behind your armor and uncover the initial hurt, the initial wound, and give you step-by-step ways to remove and heal that wound so that you no longer have to feel like you need to be defensive to walk through life. So in this session, we'll be uncovering awareness tools and exercises that help us to listen to our heart and understand the wisdom of our emotions. You see, most of us don't speak a full vocabulary of the heart. It's like knowing a little bit of another language, but not really being able to communicate it to someone else. So we have this whole layer of emotion going on within us. And it's not just one emotion at a time, it's a bunch of them. But we really, in the English language, don't have a lot of words to express exactly what we're feeling. So oftentimes we get frustrated and angry at other people because they just don't get what we're feeling. Or we might feel lonely that we can't connect to somebody else because they don't understand what we're saying and trying to communicate with them about the language of our heart. And we also have, when we didn't put language to traumatic experiences, they become stored in us. And we don't know how to release them, so we keep reliving them. So in this session, we're going to really start to delve into a bigger language of emotion, as well as teach you a really powerful awareness tool and step-by-step way to let go of those old experiences that are so harmful and hurtful and still controlling your life. When we go through difficult experiences, our mind, body, and emotions are all affected. And without the language or exercises to move through the trauma that has happened, we can unconsciously hold on to those emotions. For example, being part of or witnessing a trauma as a child brings in, naturally, profound feelings of anxiety. If these feelings are not expressed, or you tried to speak up and maybe you were ignored or belittled or told not to talk about those emotions, those feelings continue to seek validation through your thoughts and experiences. As we witnessed in a past session, your reticular activating system, that's like the Google for your mind, will always seek for reasons to make you right. And just like Googling something on the internet, you may have explored thoughts that were not the truth and found lots of evidence to support unhealthy thoughts. And then those keep looping back to make you more anxious. And then the more anxious you are, the more you seek out those anxious thoughts. And they create this negative loop within your mind and body that is really hard to stop until you get to the root of the issue. So if we don't have the language to really share with others the experience that we went through, or exercises that help us get through it to uncover the wisdom, then we build our emotional defenses. And as they come in, when support does show up and love shows up and other help shows up, oftentimes it's really difficult for those energetic sources to get in and be of service to us through our armor. So once we're able to put language to whatever it is that we've experienced, then we're able to start to move through it. And as we do, we start to uncover we're not the only person that has ever felt this way. So we're not alone. We also uncover lots of wisdom that emotion was there to teach. So instead of holding on to it and maybe feeling like a victim, or holding on to it and staying very rageful, or all the other things that can happen to any of us, we can let all of those emotions go and just hold on to the nuggets, the pearls of wisdom that came out of that experience. But until we do, we all know the world will offer us all kinds of positive and negative experiences every day. Until we manage those underlying emotions, our defenses arise to keep out anything that can hurt us. There's a few problems that continue to happen with this. When we believe the negative thoughts that we've created, it's like those negative thoughts offer an energetic backdoor through our defenses to partner with the negative, nasty things that people might be saying or you might be experiencing in life. This is why when somebody says something nasty to you, it can get through because part of you believes that you're not enough. Or you may keep getting manipulative people showing up in your life, and they're getting through because some part of you believes that you're a failure, and they're able to manipulate you because they can sense that you feel this way. Now, when you have faith in yourself, it's much harder for those manipulations to get through when you create healthy boundaries. Now, while there's all kinds of hurtful experiences going on, there's also loving and supportive and joyful people and experiences that are still unable to get through until we work through the experiences that we're going to go through today to be more open and vulnerable and living a life that is in good, right, and true alignment with the gift that you are. So please give yourself some permission to move past your emotional defenses and go into where that original wound occurred. And it's from that you can release those emotions, be free, and be in alignment with your positive thoughts and emotions. So allow yourself to dig deep with me so that we can get to the root of your defense today. And know that when that fear comes up in your path or those negative thoughts pop in, that your heart and your brain and your body and your intuition, everything is rooting for you to keep moving forward. So you got this. I know you do. Just keep walking with me. As we begin to talk about your difficult emotions, I want to share with you some wisdom from nature and talk about the journey of a lotus flower. Now see, lotus flowers are usually found in this murky river water, and they grow in this really difficult environment. They start out rooted in mud, and they have to grow up and around all of these branches and other obstacles until when they finally surface and bloom, there's not a drop of mud on her, and none of the difficulties that she's been through are apparent from the beauty that she is as she blooms on the water. So may you know that deep within, you also are growing through your murky waters and your difficult challenges. And when it's your time to blossom and bloom, those difficult obstacles are only going to make your bloom more beautiful. As we progress, please make a vow with yourself to be open, honest, and not judge yourself with what comes up. Please know that everyone has negative emotions and it's just part of the human experience. But if you become overwhelmed in this process, please seek a responsible adult or consult a therapist to help you through the process. As we learned last week, being vulnerable and opening our hearts can be overwhelming. I know when I started this process and I got the courage to finally manage my emotional defenses, I found that I didn't want to do it because I didn't know how to manage the amount of stored emotion that I'd been holding on to. It became very clear to me that my emotions were managing me instead of me managing my emotions. So these exercises that we're heading into have been profoundly life-changing for so many people that I've had the honor to coach, and also myself. You see, for me growing up, I didn't learn a language of emotions, and I wasn't taught how to have healthy boundaries, and certainly wasn't taking exquisite care of myself. So when life experiences happened, and I got angry, or I was hurt, or I was fearful, my family had taught me to squash those emotions and not talk about them. So that's what I did. And then I held on to them, and they would build and build and build and build in me. And eventually something would happen, and all of this emotion would come out over some little thing that just happened in my environment. And then I would feel overwhelmed by my own emotions and didn't want to deal with them at all. So as I learned how to clear them out and how to listen to the wisdom they were teaching me, I uncovered that all of this anger I'd held on to, it had showed up in my life to say, hey, Jenny, someone's crossing your boundary. Hey, Jenny, someone's trying to manipulate you. Someone's trying to hurt you. That anger was there to push that energy away, to push that person or experience away from me so I wouldn't be hurt. Or if I felt fear, it was teaching me, hey, there's a threat in front of you, Jenny. Pay attention so that we don't get hurt. You see, my emotions have tremendous wisdom, and I find them now to be my friend and fantastic partner to take exquisite care of me. Because as I listen to what they're telling me, all of a sudden I realize that I can walk a path of authenticity that is good, right, and true for me. And since there are not currently classes in traditional education that teach the diversity and the intensity of different emotions, most of us grow up only learning a really limited vocabulary to express what we're feeling. So I want you to take a pause, and I want you to write down as many emotions that you know that you have learned. So I'm not sure how many emotions you came up with, and the interesting thing is there's still not a complete list of all the emotions and definitions to them that a person can experience within their lifetime. So I've attached a list for you of almost 300 different emotions to help you expand your emotional vocabulary and be able to speak and honor the experiences that you're having. Now, I've added in some words from other languages and cultures that we don't have in the English language, and some newly coined words that weren't even around or wouldn't make any sense when I was growing up. For example, like the Japanese have a word that describes the feeling that you have after getting a bad haircut. And a word that wouldn't have made any sense when I was growing up is cyberchondria. It's a pretty new word, but it describes that anxiety you get when you start looking up your illness symptoms that makes you even more anxious. So when you start Googling around for all the different things that you're feeling and all of a sudden you're going to die when it's really just a cold, there's a word for that called cyberchondria. And how about ring anxiety, or ringxiety is the way it's pronounced, which is the anxiety resulting from the mistaken belief that your cell phone's ringing or vibrating in your pocket when it's not. So as part of your homework, please download those definitions, and I really hope you enjoy exploring and expanding your emotional vocabulary. Now, to give you an example of how the English language really doesn't have enough words to explain our emotional experience, let's just look at the word love. We've all experienced love, but there's many different versions of how we experience it. So we can love our pet, but that might be very different than the feeling of how we love our friends, or how we love our family, or spiritual love, or nature love. There's many different versions and aspects of just the emotion of love. And yet we try to use that one word to explain our experience with it. Now add in the truth that what we experience is a range of layered emotions all at once. Now, for example, in a breakup, you could be feeling really depressed that you broke up, while you're also feeling some relief that whatever was not working in that relationship is now over. And add in, you can also be feeling lonely for the great times that you had together, and scared you might never find another companion, yet hopeful for what are the wonderful experiences that lie ahead, all at once. And I haven't found one word that describes feeling those layers of emotions. So I'd like to take a moment and pause and have you put your right hand on your heart, close your eyes, and check in to what feelings you're having. I'd like to invite you to do that several times a day so that you can start to really hear and experience the wisdom that your emotions are there to teach you. I'd also ask you to create your own words and definitions to describe the feelings that you're having that you can't find any vocabulary for. And when you do that, I'd really love for you to inspire the rest of us and create an opening for the rest of us to speak and connect towards those feelings. So please share those words and definitions of your feelings on Facebook or Instagram, any of your social media, so that we can all come together to increase our vocabulary to understand and honor the language of our heart. So let's go ahead and get started with that exercise of releasing the difficult feelings for which you might not have had words for, and really learn to understand the wisdom of what those feelings that have been really stuck in you are trying to teach you. You know, I look at the world like we all come in with this clear, shining, open heart, ready to give our gifts around the world. And then we connect with other people who've been on the planet longer than us, and they share their pain with us. So they might anger us or shame us or hurt us or do all kinds of things that will fill up our heart with those experiences if we don't know how to manage them. And if we don't know how, we go ahead and put up that wall. But now it's time for us to bring it back down and let your shining heart really overflow and you share the gift you are with the world. So step one is I want you to just draw a heart on a piece of paper, nothing fancy. But I want you to start writing in all the difficult emotions that you know that you're still dealing with. Like, are you really enraged by being betrayed? Are you still grieving the loss of someone? Or maybe the loss of a relationship? Or maybe you're angry that people aren't behaving the way you'd like them. There's many different things that you might have stored within you. I want you to start off by writing out what you think those might be. And then once you have those down, I want you to circle which ones you're ready to release. So to release those emotions that you're ready to let go of, here's our step-by-step process. Our first step is going to be create a heart-filling station. And I like to do that first because once you've released all that emotion, you've got to fill it back up with something. And because our neural pathways and even our cellular structures will go and seek what we're used to. It's called our homeostasis. It wants to go back to that balance. It'll try to seek what you've already had stored inside your body and your heart. So I want to start looking at what you're going to fill yourself with instead of all of those emotions that no longer serve you. Then we're going to find you a safe space. We're going to stir up all that emotion that's been causing you harm. We'll release it. You're going to rest, fill your heart tank, maintain it, and share your heart tank with the world. I also caution you to not start this process until you're willing, ready, and able to go through the entire process. Because going in and triggering and stirring up old emotions and not releasing them and letting them go will only trigger unhealthy behaviors and cause you pain. So until you're ready to let them fully go, do not start this process. So having been through this process countless times, I know it's uncomfortable, and I know it might be new and different learning for you. And there's something good for you to remember, that if you always do what you've always did, you always get what you've always got. Now, I know this exercise is really effective, so build your courage and commit to moving forward. Step 1 is choosing to let go of whatever arises. This means that you choose to no longer remain victim to those emotions and experiences. They're now going to be a chapter of your past that taught you a lesson that carries the wisdom of it into your future. Now, I know after years of doing this that there are so many mixed messages about letting go. And when I struggle, I often look to the wisdom that lies in nature. Now, when I see a tree letting go of its leaves, I don't really ever think that that tree must be really weak to let go of its leaves, or, it should be holding on to those leaves because they've had a relationship, and if they've been in that relationship that long, it should stay together. I don't really look at life that way. The tree lets go so that the whole tree remains healthy and knows that the new will arrive. Now, having been a coach for so long, I know there's lots of reasons we get stuck in not wanting to let go. So I want to share with you these wise words. To let go does not mean to stop caring. It means I can't do it for someone else. To let go is not to cut myself off. It's the realization that I can't control another. To let go is not to enable, but to allow learning from natural consequences. To let go is to admit powerlessness, which means the outcome is not in my hands. To let go is not to try or change or blame another. I can only change myself. To let go is not to care for, but to care about. To let go is not to fix, but to be supportive. To let go is not to judge, but to allow another to be a human being. To let go is not to be in the middle of arranging all the outcomes, but to allow others to affect their own outcomes. To let go is not to be protective. It is to permit another to face reality. To let go is not to deny, but to accept. To let go is not to nag, scold, or argue, but to search out my own shortcomings and correct them. To let go is not to adjust everything to my desires, but to take each day as it comes and cherish the moment. To let go is not to criticize or regulate anyone, but to try to become what I dream I can be. To let go is not to regret the past, but to grow and live for the future. To let go is to fear less and love more. So please be gentle with yourself as you're letting go. Because just as we've talked about with retraining your mind, you don't just kick out a negative thought. What you do is become aware of it and realize that you can choose to refocus your mind onto something that is more positive and going to bring you more success into life. So as you're clearing out these long-held resentments and traumas and other emotions that have not been processed, Realize that the first step we're going to do is choose to commit to what you'd like to have your heart overflowing with. I call this exercise the heart tank. I want you to think of your heart tank just like a car has a gas tank. When we are taking exquisite care of ourselves, we take time each day to check in to see where our heart levels are, just like we check a car's gas tank to make sure that we have enough fuel for the trip that we're taking. A healthy heart is overflowing with the emotions that fuel your unique gifts. For example, I found that my creativity is fueled by a sense of peacefulness, a soulful connection, and a passion for sharing whatever it is that I'm creating. So I've discovered if I'm having trouble creating, let's say, a new teaching course and cannot find the words to provide clarity for the subject, I seek to fill my heart by doing activities that I find peaceful and soulful. So, for example, for me, that means I'll make time to go watch a sunrise or a sunset. It brings me back to this peaceful, soulful place within inside myself. Or I listen to calming music or do a visualization. So I want you to take a pause and I want you to write down a really powerful awareness tool. The first part of it is going to be, what are 3 of your unique gifts? And you might know them straight away. We started to talk about those in previous sessions. But if you're not sure, make sure you take the time to talk with your gratitude buddy, maybe a family member or a friend, and really start to understand and get clarity on the unique gifts that you have. And then once you understand those, dig into what emotions are really needing to overflow so that you can share those gifts with the world. I want to share with you another important piece of wisdom, and that is to know that everything that you've ever been seeking outside of you is already in your heart. You see, we go out seeking for love or acceptance or kindness, and the only way we actually feel those emotions is because they already exist in our heart, and we found someone to connect with to feel those. So for example, when I connect with sweet, joyful Bella, which is my dog, her love and joy helps to expand the love and joy that is inside of me. We've also learned over the past 2 sessions that our thoughts are tremendously powerful, as they can increase or decrease our feelings like anger, fear, joy, gratitude, any of those feelings with just a thought. So we're going to create a heart-filling station for you. Just like a car goes to a gas station to refill, we're going to think through the thoughts and activities that overflow your heart with the emotions that fuel your gifts. Now, this is an eye-opening and powerful exercise for more than one reason. We've already talked about our first healthy relationship is that with ourself. And when we know and we understand that everything that we've ever needed is already inside of us, that it's our choice that we can go and connect and share that with others, we look at life from the perspective that it is a gift. Since I've learned to take exquisite care of my heart and create honorable relationships, my entire life has changed for the positive. You see, it's when 2 people take exquisite care of their own hearts that they are able to be involved in an honorable, respectful, loving, healthy relationship together. And honestly, isn't that what most of us are seeking? We are able to give from this space, from our overflow to one another, and we do not create these expectations or stories about how the other person receives and utilizes the gifts that we have to offer. When our joy tank is running low, we run the risk of giving other people control over our emotions and falling into unhealthy relationship patterns. One such example is having another person become an energy vampire to your heart tank by connecting to you through guilt. Energy vampires have not taken responsibility to learn how to fill their own tanks and know only how to feel better by guilting and manipulating you into giving your love, time, money, and resources until both of your tanks are empty. The remedy to this unhealthy relationship is to set boundaries and allow for the other person to learn the importance of their own self-care. Understanding when a relationship is connected through guilt or some other pain pattern frees you from it when you understand the gift you are giving and refilling your own tank and being a role model for the other to learn to fill their own. When we will explore more about healthy relationships in the next part of this curriculum when we talk more about empathetic citizenship and servant leadership. So let's talk about 3 awareness questions to fill your own heart tank. The first question is, what are the things that you loved to do as a kid? Or, if you are a kid, what are the activities that you do where you are so involved, you lose track of time and feel so much better after you do them? You see, when we're children, we allowed ourselves time to be creative, to use our imagination, and get lost in whatever brought us joy. I invite you to give yourself the gift of rediscovering something that you loved so much that you were able to be fully present in the moment. Now, working with clients for over 20 years, very common rediscoveries are coloring, riding a bike, building with Legos. These are just simple and oftentimes very low-cost activities that are surefire ways to fill your heart. They're simple, they're easy, and oftentimes as we get older, we abandon those things we love. I invite you to make a list of everything you remember loving doing as a kid and pick one today to go back and try. And remember, you can turn this into fun family activities or bringing your friends or the neighborhood together, maybe with a friendly game of tag or hide and go seek, or maybe neighborhood board game nights. Challenge your best friend to a hula hoop contest. Anything that is simple and easy brings you to the present moment and fills your heart with joy. The next awareness question is to think about and journal some of your favorite memories in life so far. You see, what's interesting is your mind does not know the difference between what's currently happening and what you're imagining. This is why you can watch a scary movie and get totally freaked out and afraid, even though you logically know that whatever's causing you fear is just on a screen. It's also why when we recall painful events that have happened in our life, we also invite those painful emotions, and they feel like whatever's caused us pain in the past is currently happening again. Now, knowing this about our minds and wanting to utilize that for good and the neurological benefits of journaling we've already talked about, taking time for yourself to journal your favorite memories with as much emotion and detail as possible will offer you great benefit. Now, example of this, in my seminars, I often ask someone to share a memory of great joy. And it's pretty common that someone will share holding their daughter, having their baby for the first time. And as we talk about all of the senses and the details and bringing those emotions back, it is so common that someone will start tears of joy again, just like holding their baby for the first time. And what's really powerful is the people around them will also often come to tears of joy, sharing in that moment with another person. So if you give yourself the gift of sitting down and remembering all the things that you love so much with detail and emotion with them, you're going to bring back those emotions of joy, those emotions of peace, those emotions of feeling amazing. And since you'll have them in your journal, on days where you're having a tough time, when life happens of things that we can't control, you can go into your journal and remember and feel those emotions in the moment. It'll be ready and available for you. So I invite you to give yourself the gift of taking a day and writing down all of your favorite memories. The last question to help fill your heart tank is, if you had all the time and money you ever needed and no one was going to think you're weird, what will you do? Now, research shows the majority of us will not do what brings us joy because we don't think we have enough time, we don't think we have enough money, or somebody's going to judge us and call us weird. So, imagine you get a check every single day that gives you more money than you are ever going to be able to spend in this entire lifetime. And I want you to think about your debts are paid off, your friends and family's debts are paid off, you've donated to charity. Now, what else is it that your heart wants to do and the precious time that you have left in your life? And along with this check, you're going to receive a suitcase marked Time for Joy. So anytime you feel like, I'm not going to have time for this, I can't do this, I'm going to help this person, or I've got this priority, I want you to go over to that suitcase full of joy, and there's the 2 weeks that you needed to go on your dream vacation. It's right there. That time is available in the suitcase. And you're also going to be inducted, if you'd like, into the I'm Not Weird Club. You can download a certificate and present it to anyone that says or judges you for doing whatever it is that's going to bring your heart joy. You can say, no, I'm a member of the I'm Not Weird Club. You're weird for judging me. So now you have all the time, all the money, and nobody's going to think you're weird. What is it you're going to do with your life? What does your heart want? How can you allow yourself time to fill up? Now, the cool thing about this list is some of the things you can go do right now. There are things that are going to be much easier to accomplish than others. But others, you can start little by little filling your heart up to be able to achieve whatever it is you have on the list. Let me give you an example of that. Like in one of my seminars, I was asking, what's going to fill up your heart? And one of the ladies said, I've never told anyone this, but I have always had a desire to go to Paris. And she said, but you know what? I'm a helping professional. I don't make that much money. I'm never going to be able to achieve this. And right then, the lady behind her raised her hand and said, oh my gosh, I just got back. I'm a helping professional. Yes, you can. She studied and she'd found the discounted flights and hotels and all of these tips that she was able to give to that woman that very day to start her on her journey of going to Paris. Now, obviously, if you don't have the money straight away, you can't just hop on a flight. But what you can do to take good care of your own heart is start talking to people about your trip. You can go online and start figuring out what the budget you need will be. You can create your budget and start putting away money so that you know that you have listened to your heart and you're filling up your joy tank every single day, even if it's taking the littlest step to know what will bring you joy. So take some time and sit down and ask your heart. We've got all the time, all the money. We are a member of the I'm Not Weird Club. What is it you want to do? How are we going to spend the precious time and gift of our life making sure that we have overflowed our own heart doing what brings us joy? Once you've created your list, I invite you to download the Heart Filling Station worksheet and share what fills your heart and where your current heart levels are that day. Not only does it make you aware of where your heart levels are and what can fill you up, but it also gives the gift to others to not guess where your heart levels are and not have to guess what's going to fill you up. Now, a great example of how powerful this exercise can be, I was working with an entrepreneur, the CEO of a company who'd been building his company, that really had to check into his own self to figure out what it is that could do to fill him up. Now, as he did this, he asked his family to join him so he didn't have to guess what was going to overflow their hearts. So each of them created their own heart-filling station worksheet, put it on the refrigerator, and every day they'd take a magnet to share with each other where their heart levels were. So were they running a little low? Did they need to fill up? Were they overflowing? It was a great worksheet to open up awareness for each of them and conversation to ask, what's going on in your life today? What helped to overflow you today? Why is it that you're running low? Can I offer you something on your list to help fill your heart tank that day? So sharing with this made a huge difference. A simple example with a profound difference was, for this particular family, the husband noticed that his wife had put up on her heart filling station that her heart was running a little low that day. So after dinner one night, he went over to what her heart tank said, that she wanted to go watch sunset, and said, honey, the kids and I are going to clean up dinner. I'm going to help them with their homework. I really want you to go fill your heart. Go and watch sunset. We really want to honor your heart, and this is how we can be of service. And while she resisted at first, one of her little girls came and gave her a blanket and said, Mommy, I love you. Go fill your heart. And when she went, she called me up and said, oh my gosh, it was one of the most beautiful things, because she felt the love from her family. Instead of them trying to do something that really wasn't going to work to fill her heart, she could feel it, she knew it, and it made a profound difference for her marriage, for her family, for her kids, and realize the difference that we can make when we understand and know and share with one another when we need help, or when somebody else is running low, what really works for them, for us to be of service. Now, I know, having done this many times, people often tell me they feel weird doing this. Now, I want you to know that's normal, because we've talked about the neurological resistance to change, and doing these exercises, our culture has not created a language and a common way to speak about our emotions and to manage them. So what you're doing is quite profound, that you are learning to speak an emotionally intelligent language for yourself. And as you do that and learn to manage all of your emotions, you're overflowing your heart tank and giving others the gift to do the same. So now that you've done the work to know what's going to fill up your heart tank, let's do the work to clear out what's been clogging it or you've been holding on to that has been harming you. So the first step you're going to take to do that is to find a safe space so that you can have some quiet time to work through this process with no interruption. We're going to be talking more about this in next session, but there's a part of our brain, the left side of our brain, that will follow patterns over and over again, and it's part of where that self-sabotage and emotional defenses are built. So I want you to use a visualization and picture yourself putting your brain into suspended animation. So I always picture, when I'm doing a process like this, of just putting it in a clear jar and saying, you can watch what's happening, but you have no power to stop me, because I'm going to move past my defenses and I'm going to go in and clear out the things that you've been stopping for so long. So now that our intellect is in suspended animation, we're going to stir up all those emotions that have been really pushed down and causing you harm. Now, you might even have an emotional defense that you've walled them off or compartmentalized them so you don't have to feel them. And now we're going to go ahead and feel them so that we can honor them, release them, and learn their wisdom. Now, one of the most successful ways that I found to do this is to sit down in private and write out the meanest, nastiest, most vicious, vile letter that you've ever written in your entire life. It is the kind of letter that if anyone ever saw it or read it, you'd be horrified. Now, these are the emotions and words that you have been pushing down for so long. And as we've talked about before, when we handwrite something, we slow down our brain enough and allow ourselves to feel what's happened. So we want to actually go in and feel these emotions again, get them all stirred up. And as you're writing this letter, you can also bring out pictures of the person or the situation that hurt you. And this is the only time I ever say it's okay to go in and check out an ex's social media or those kind of things. You're just going to stir up emotions with it. Any other time, I recommend just leaving that be and moving on with your life. Or maybe you're going to watch some videos of around that time so it can stir up emotions. You can write out a list, but definitely sit down and dig into a letter that brings up all this emotion. Now, when I'm doing this with people, oftentimes they'll say, oh, I got, one page. And it's more like, give yourself permission to get at least 5 pages, front and back, of anything and everything you've ever stored. And remember, no one is ever going to see this letter but you. It is you offering yourself permission to finally give voice to everything and anything that's ever caused you harm. An important tip to remember is not to feel guilty about what you're writing. You see, deep down, you're really mad at the painful energy another person or experience gave to you, not actually the person. You see, underneath all of our pain patterns is a loving, caring, kind being who's seeking to connect in healthy ways, just like you. The only difference is that the other person may not be aware of the pain they're causing, or they're unaware of how to stop the pattern, or maybe they've not summoned enough courage to do the process of release that you're going to do so that you can move on and be the gift you are meant to be on this planet. And while you may not be able to stop the other person from causing pain, you do have the power to stop it with you and the gift of no longer replaying and reliving the pains of the past. So we're going to discuss more about relationships in our next session, but I want to make sure there is no guilt because what you're doing is truly amazing to stop the energy with you and move on to your highest good. Now that you have your letter done, go ahead and read it back to yourself. And read it back with the emotion that goes along with it. So you're stirring it all up and you're re-feeling those emotions. And I want you to take notice of the patterns that come up while you're doing this. So do you have a pattern of being disrespected? Do you have a pattern of feelings of betrayal? Do you have a pattern of being abused? Whatever those feelings are that are emerging, I want you to take, whether it's little slips of paper or 3x5 cards, and write on those slips of paper the summary of the patterns that keep happening in your life. So you're going to take those little slips of paper and you're going to focus your energy on letting go of what's happened to you. So you're going to do it a couple different ways. I want you to scream and yell and say all the words that you ever needed to get out about that experience. You see, one of the ways that our body releases emotion is through our voice. If you put your hand on your throat, you can feel the vibrations of energy coming out as you talk, as you scream, as you yell. So yell, get out whatever it is you needed to say. I also want you to punch it and pound on it and stomp on it because our body releases energy and pain through our sweat as well. So get out that rage, get out that anger, yell, scream, cry. All of these different ways are the ways that your body can naturally let go of what you held on to for so long. Now, I don't know if you know this, but your tears actually do release pain chemicals, and they're quite different depending on why you're crying. If you put your tears under a microscope, you'll see that there are different tears for sadness because it's actually releasing pain chemicals. There's different tears for your anger. You're going to actually release pain. That's why you feel better after a good cry. Now, our pain chemicals aren't released, and that's why they're different. If we're laughing, if we're cutting up onions and our eyes start tearing, if you are out in the wind and your eyes tear, those are different. But there's science that proves that when you cry, you're actually releasing some of that stored emotion and pain. So it's one of our body's natural ways of taking care of itself. Now, I know that you might feel resistance doing this, which we've already talked about is natural. And there's going to be that layer of fear that you are not going to want to be able to go down and touch those emotions, those emotional defenses that you've created. So I want to tell you, just keep going, keep moving past that, because once you do, all of it comes out. And remember during that time that now you're in control of these emotions. They're not controlling you. You might be feeling overwhelmed in the moment, but now you've moved them out. And once you've done all this work and moved them out, please rest. Make sure you schedule time to rest. Not only are you going to be emotionally exhausted from screaming and yelling and crying, you're also going to be emotionally exhausted. So just like if you've had to have some surgery, I want you to take extra exquisite care and compassion with yourself as you go and quiet down and rest. Then when you wake up the next morning, it's your job to go and fill your heart. So your entire next day is spent doing activities and thinking thoughts that are going to overflow your heart. So as part of filling up your heart, I also want you to plan for a no drama day. So you can let people know, hey, I'm not going to be available, let's say on Saturday, if that's your heart-filling day. You don't have to give all the details why. You're just going to say, hey, I just need a day off the grid. So that means if somebody's going to call or text you with some drama, that you're not going to take it, that you're not going to turn on the news or watch something that upsets you. You're not going to scroll through social media if that's going to upset you or bring you any drama. You're really going to choose that today is completely about filling up myself with everything I need and everything that is good for my heart, my mind, and my soul. So this is a really powerful exercise that we went through today, and I'm deeply grateful for your courage, for your strength, for your tenacity and focus as you go through this process, because you can get through it, and on the other side of it, you're going to feel so much better. So, for your homework, I want you to go ahead and keep speaking that positive statement across environments while still spending the first 10 minutes in the morning with your intentions and gratitude, and last 10 minutes at night really going over the evidence you found that your positive statement is true with your gratitude. Adding on to that, download the vocabulary worksheet and start to expand and practice your vocabulary of emotion so that you will now have words to speak of all those emotions that are happening in your body, as well as you're going to sit down and you're going to write out those 3 unique gifts. So you might already know them, or you're going to talk to your gratitude buddy or friends and family of what your top 3 unique gifts that you know you have are, and explore what emotions really help to fuel them so that you can use those gifts as service to the world. You're also going to prepare and do your directed release. So after your directed release and you get all of that done, you're going to take that time to overflow your heart tank. So no drama, just whatever it is that takes exquisite care of your heart. Also in the next week, please make sure that you're still meeting with your gratitude buddy. And that once you get through your directed release and you overflow your heart, I ask you to inspire others. So share that with your family, share that with your friends, so they start to think about the vocabulary of their own emotions and really what fuels their gifts. So you'll be inspiring others to really start taking exquisite care of themselves, which in effect is really taking care of us all. A quick look at just a few of the exercises and emotional intelligence tools we'll be looking at in the next session is how to manage the difficult people and emotional vampires that might be in your life. Now, as you start doing better, you're going to notice the people around you might not want you to change. So we're going to go through an entire session of exercises, skills, and tools to manage when other people aren't supporting your change. We'll also be moving ahead to building out an entire decision guidance system for you so that when difficult challenges or people come into your life, you can run them through your unique decision guidance system to make sure that you stay on the path that is good, right, and true for you. So we have a lot more other skills, tools, and tips that will be coming ahead. And I am so grateful that you have chosen to increase your emotional intelligence. And you have no idea how many people you're going to be inspiring. And we always invite you to share with us how it's going. So whether you prefer social media or to do that with your gratitude buddy, friends, and family, or you want to contact us directly, thank you for the difference that you're making, because your positivity will spread farther and wider than you know.